Hi everyone, just a short informal video to talk about the class, go over some important things on the syllabus before we get started with the real work when the semester begins. If you saw in the announcement, there's a link there to the syllabus over on the side. There's a menu item pages, and there's a syllabus page, and you can download it from there as well. So I certainly recommend right away downloading it, saving it to your files, referring to it during the semester as you need to. And right now, just having it open so you can follow along. I'm not going to go through this word for word. I'll go through it fairly thoroughly, but mostly I just want to kind of point out and emphasize some really important things, show you a little bit around Canvas. Hopefully you've poked around there. More stuff will open up on that as assignments come in. So this is Philosophy of China. Hopefully you're in the right class right now. This semester's spring. It's a fully online asynchronous course. I have some contact information at the top there. This semester, I'm split between online, the Oshkosh campus, and the Fox Cities campus. So my office hours are just kind of by appointment, especially for online classes. Mostly just, email me, message me through Canvas. We can chat back and forth that way. If we needed to set up a little Zoom or Teams meeting to talk real time, happy to do that. We'll just find a time when it's mutually convenient to do that. Like it says here, it is your responsibility to read the entire syllabus thoroughly. Everything on here is your responsibility. I'm not going to read the whole thing word for word. It's not a good use of our time right now. But then please do ask if you have any questions about anything. And it says everything is tentative and subject to change. That's mostly just if I notice typos or something, and I'll let you know about that. All right. Right off the bat, the textbook, and you should get this right away. Introduction to Classical Chinese Philosophy. There's hard copies. I believe it's also available as an ebook. Google Books and or Kindle, maybe both. You can get it through the bookstore, you can just get it through Amazon or whatever. A lot of the course content and my lecture videos follows this pretty closely, though I do add some stuff as I go along. The tests, by the way, are they're open book, open notebook, and so you're absolutely welcome to have your texts along with you as you're going through and answering multiple choice questions, writing essay questions, things like that. Especially you'll see in my lectures, I don't write a ton on the board because I am assuming, because reasonably assuming, that you have the required text and you can just kind of follow along. That way you can see the way that things are organized in here, and I don't have to rewrite things that are literally like headers in the book, that kind of thing. All right. So get that right away. I may distribute some other readings. I'm thinking of one a little bit later in the semester. It'll just be like some PDF that I, put on Canvas or something. Grading breakdown, this is important stuff. We have discussions, quizzes, and tests. The discussions are worth 40% of your grade. There's 10 of them. On the very back page, you can kind of see the course outline, and that shows when different discussions and quizzes and tests happen. We'll talk about this in more detail. The very first one will be posted with the first kind of unit on Monday, and there will be detailed directions there. So make sure you read those, ask questions. There's 10 total. I do drop the lowest one. Something I'm going to say again, I want to emphasize a number of times. The discussions, they have very generous deadlines. You have the better part of a week to complete a pretty short assignment when it comes right down to it. And then they're left open a whole other week where you can still hand them in with late penalties. After that, they are closed and you cannot complete them for any reason, no exceptions. I cannot reopen the discussions for individual students. There are both technological and pedagogical reasons for that. I'll explain that more with the directions. But I want to make that very clear. Every semester, somebody asks me, hey, can you reopen that discussion? And the answer is always no. You've got plenty of time to get these done. And so if you don't get something done, you can still get it on time. You can still get it done with a very generous late penalty. But after that, all bets are off. To that end, just to kind of take that into account, I do drop one. If there's something, once during the semester that comes up where for some reason, literally more than a couple weeks goes by that you can't get some stuff done, you've got a little bit of leeway there. But having said that, if that were to happen more than once, then really you should be thinking about withdrawing from the class or something like that, all right? Um, Quizzes, those are worth 30% of your grade. There's 10 of them. They're mostly multiple choice, although there might be some with some very short answer, like a little paragraph kind of thing. The number of points can kind of vary for those. You'll see that on there. But they're usually in the ballpark of about 15 to 20 or something like that. But then they're kind of all weighted together as 30% of your grade. I don't drop any of those. There are both pedagogical and technological reasons why it is possible for me to leave those open with late penalties a bit longer. And so really there's no reason not to get all of those done. And each of those discussions and quizzes goes with a particular lecture as per that back page. And then tests, there's three of those. They're just basically short essay format. You write me like a page or two. It's not some big um, paper or something like that, right? There will be directions with those. Generally, they ask you to kind of answer some questions and synthesize some ideas from the stuff we've done that third of the semester, right? There is no big single comprehensive like final exam or final term paper. There's just, per the units here, kind of 3 unit tests, and the last unit test is sort of the final. It's just a non-comprehensive final in the sense that it's the last one, all right? So no, there's nothing missing there. What about the final exam? What about the term paper or whatever? It's broken into these kind of weekly units and then these third of the semester tests there, all right? Again, all these will have detailed directions, very specific deadlines. Make sure you read those and let me know if you have questions about them. The grading scale information is just kind of there, FYI. Like it says, make sure you're keeping an eye on your grades so there's no big surprises at the end of the semester. And just, most of you don't need to be told this, but it comes up once or twice a semester. Your grades are based on your performance on the exams, not your reasons for doing poorly on them. So please don't email me with sob stories saying, I know I earned a C, but my life is really hard, so can you give me an A? Like, no, that is not how that works, right? It would be desperately unfair to all of the other students in the class, right? Email and Canvas messaging, that's the best way to get a hold of me. You can email me directly or you can send me a message through Canvas, which then also generates an email to me. I check my email pretty regularly, usually during the workday. I just kind of have it up on a screen, so I'm pretty good about getting back to people. But I don't necessarily check much in the evenings. Over the weekends, I'll check a little bit, but not a ton. I do have a life outside of this place. So expect my reply within the usual sort of business week, business hours, and please allow up to a full business day. Often I reply quicker than that, but that might be the case in some instances, right? I guess a little subtext to that. Don't call me, please. Please don't call. I'm online, so sometimes I'm working from home. I'm at the Fox campus. I'm at the Oshkosh campus. Playing phone tag with people is obnoxious. Just I don't check the work email or the work phone messages very often. I'm only on certain campuses different days. Email, Canvas messaging, I will see so much more quickly than a phone message. So please make sure that those are the ways to try to contact me. Right? The next page, a lot of that I do want you to just kind of read on your own. I'll just point out a few things. There is obviously, you should be on it already, a Canvas site, right? And I just wanted to kind of show you a couple things there. If I can share my screen, share that one, right? This is what it looks like for me. There's less stuff on the sides for you. The student view, I can go into that for a second, is obviously much more streamlined. However, right now, as I'm making this, there are a few things that aren't showing up here, but they will on Monday when I post like discussion assignments, quizzes, things like that. So over here is, announcements, grades, pages. The pages is where you can find the syllabus. Grades is where grades will be as you come in. Announcements, especially on Mondays, I'll be posting different lectures, assignments, etc. And then if I leave the student view here, there will be other things that you can't see as of me making this video right now, but you will as of Monday, like discussions, assignments, that kind of thing. So look for things over there. And if you have any questions about where things are, just let me know. Okay. Get out of Zoom again here. Stop share. Very good. Okay. If you have an accommodation plan, please let me know right about it. I'm supposed to get those through the system, but once in a while there's sort of a glitch. So I know what they tell you in the accommodations office, but please, you do actively reach out to me to let me know about that, all right? And then we need to talk about like how that works with the online class, and I'll touch base with some of you individually. Pretty standard things, late things can be penalized. That's going to be built right into Canvas. You'll see that in the directions. There are automated late penalties per day, that kind of thing. I don't do extra or alternative credit. Don't ask for that, please. In my mind, that's a very high school kind of thing. There could be some college contexts where it's legitimate, but not in the context of this class. So just make sure you're doing your actual assignments rather than not doing them and then begging me for extra credit at the end of the semester, please, right? Everything has to be completed prior to the end of the semester and submission of final grades. I know you all know this, but not quite all of you, because every once in a while I will like get an email in July from somebody who flunked the class because they didn't complete all the assignments and wanting to know if they can still do them. No, you cannot. The class is over. Okay. So just make sure you do that. Um, I don't share my notes with students. If you need notes, ask a fellow student. Having said that, this is an online class. I've got recorded lectures. They're based closely on the text. Everything is right there for you. I mean, you can use the closed captions on the uh, the lecture videos. You can pause, you can rewind, things like that, right? You don't need that. A few other things that are kind of legalese that I'm sort of required to put on here, so please check that out. And I also have this little generic warning here. We're talking in this class, maybe might not come up quite so much, but in a lot of my classes, say we talk about, contemporary politics or ethics or things like that. Sometimes we come up with some subjects that are a little sensitive for people for legitimate reasons. And if you ever have concerns about that kind of thing, please do talk to me. But do understand it's not okay to ask to like kind of opt out of material because you don't like it or you find it sensitive. Once in a while, I have students ask me that kind of thing. I do want to assure you everything in here is perfectly legitimate adult level college philosophy. I'm not doing anything inappropriate here. So, if you have some issues, please do talk to me. I'll always lend an ear. If you need support services of some kind, advising, counseling services, things like that, happy to direct you to those. But do understand that you are responsible for all the material, right? This comes up probably more in, like, say, my more contemporary ethics class than a classical Chinese philosophy class, but still, it could be an issue. There's also a little bit here about student responsibilities. In my experience, most of you are going to be great and there's not going to be any problem. I always feel a little bad talking about some of this stuff on the syllabus video because I know most of you don't need to hear it, but I also know some of you do, just based on my experience. So in some ways, being in an online class can be harder than a face-to-face class because you don't have me in the room right there to kind of like, grab you after class or remind you of things. So some things that you have to be able to do well in an online class, follow all the directions and make sure you ask questions if you don't have them. If you're just skimming directions and losing points because of that, then that's not a problem with the class. Deadlines, it's especially important that you meet deadlines, and especially again about those discussions. Once those are closed, they are not reopened for any reason whatsoever, not extraordinary life circumstances, not accommodations, et cetera, et cetera. Those are hard closing dates. So make sure you have things in on time and it won't be an issue. Technology, we're way past the point where I'm willing to accept technology related excuses. It's, there was the dog ate my homework back when I was young. And then when I was in college, it was the printer wouldn't work, and printers were sort of newer, so college professors would let that slide. Come on, man, it's the 21st century here. And in particular, you have to have access to reliable internet. You have to be able to use basic technology like word processors, browsers, things like that, and do things according to the directions for that. So I don't really take technology related excuses for those sorts of things, right? And the last thing there, and again, this is, 29 out of 30 of my students don't need to hear this, but unfortunately, one of the 30 does. Just a general sense of personal responsibility that this is because it's fully online and asynchronous, largely up to you to be responsible for making sure that you're doing the things you need to do, doing them well, doing them the right way, doing them on time, and that sort of thing. So this is a good sort of like introspection moment. Look deep within. If you feel like, am I the sort of student where if I look at my class experience, I seem to be kind of late on things a lot. I seem to have trouble with directions. And of course, it's never really my fault, but seems to come up a lot. This probably isn't the class for you, and you might want to think about dropping the class and finding something that's a better fit for you, okay? The third page, a lot of this is stuff that I'm required to have on here for various policy reasons. And would also be really important if you were transferring and they wanted to see whether, this class meets the requirements for a different class. So hang on to these for future reference. You might need transcripts someday. Transferring grad school, other sorts of technical programs will sometimes even look for these things, right? Course description, hopefully you read that when you enrolled in it. It's largely classical Chinese philosophy, though at the end we'll do a little bit of later post-classical stuff. Online mode, this is a fully online class. This is a fully asynchronous class. And so again, you have to be able to sort of make sure you've worked in the time in your schedule. This isn't one of those UW Flex classes where like you don't interact with the teacher or other students at all. It's just this like completely independent study kind of thing you do online. And they don't care if you take 5 years to do it or whatever. We do follow a 14-week semester. There are deadlines for things. You have the flexibility within your day about when you want to do things, but the fact that it's online doesn't mean you can just kind of do things whenever you want. You can wait till the end of the semester and then suddenly do everything. That's not how the class works, right? In particular, the fact sometimes at the beginning of the semester, I get emails from students who say, well, like I'm actually in a different time zone, and so I'm going to need like extensions. No, you won't, right? It's fully online, so your geographic location is irrelevant. You don't have to come to a classroom at the Fox or the Oshkosh campus. And it's fully asynchronous. It doesn't matter what time of day you log in. You just, if you have like, the better part of a week to complete an assignment, whatever time of day it is for you, wherever you are, is when you do your work. And no, that's true even for students that are right here in Wisconsin. I've got students who work all day and then are doing classwork, late into the evening, which might be your morning in a different time zone or something like that, right? So please don't email me and ask for like weird extensions because you're in Europe right now or something like that. It's not relevant. It's not a problem, is my positive way of saying it. It will not be a problem for you at all, i.e., it's not a relevant excuse to get things done on time. Okay. Outcomes, yeah, gosh, all the rest of this is stuff I'm required to have on the syllabus. Might be useful to you at some point for transferring. The additional resources there are some handy links to things that you might find useful. And then finally, this back page with the schedule, that is pretty important, obviously. Basically, on Monday of every week, I post something, and most of the weeks, what it is there's a video lecture over a reading, which is most of the time out of here, a chapter or two. There might be some additional handouts, especially later. And most of those weeks also have a quiz and a discussion assignment that go with it. And so the announcement that I'll post Monday will lay out all this for you. It'll say, here's a link to the video, here's the chapter that goes with it. Make sure you go look for quiz number 1 over here in the quiz section. Look for discussion number 1. Each of those will have directions and deadlines that you'll read really carefully. Let me know if you have questions. Then you get your work done during the week, and then the next week I post the next thing. And then there are these kind of pauses for the kind of unit tests, you might say, the sort of summary tests of each third, test 1, 2, and 3. And then the very last week of the class, there's no new material. That's just when the stuff from the previous week has some deadlines where you finish things up. Okay. Generally speaking, I post these things Monday morning, usually fairly early in the morning, but there might be times when it's a little later. Sometimes I have like weird meetings that are scheduled first thing Monday morning. If you don't see things by like lunch, feel free to nudge me with a message or something. It almost never happens, but once in a blue moon, I might have just forgotten, like I've hit the wrong thing, like save instead of save and submit or save and open or whatever. I haven't done that in years, but I think I did it once or twice when I was first teaching online classes. So by lunch or something, you think you're not seeing something that you should, don't be shy about reaching out. But I'm pretty good about that stuff these days. Okay. So really, that's about all that I wanted to say about all of this stuff. Let me know if you have any follow-up questions. And then keep an eye out for Monday when the first unit, lecture video and reading on historical context, chapter 1 out of the book, with an associated quiz and discussion. All right. Good luck and looking forward to the semester.